And thanks to the Minister for coming into the Chamber for this very important debate. Minister, Bus Éireann Route 1269, the Nightrider service, users and commuters of this service got an awful fright yesterday at 4 o'clock when Bus Éireann tweeted that the route from Dublin to Newbridge via Naas would no longer operate and the last one would run this Saturday night. 126 will continue as normal with the last run at 11 p.m. Considering the last train out of Dublin for Newbridge is at 11:10 p.m. at the weekends as well, this caused uproar among commuters, and I was inundated with calls from constituents both last night and this morning. This morning the NTA say they have approved continuation of the 126 route, the late services, so in effect the 12:30 and the 3:30, the 3:30 a.m. Buses will continue till the end of the year, and the NTA will review the late services and determine if public service obligation applies for continuation into 2019. Minister, this is really unsatisfactory in terms of how Bus Éireann have handled this and how the NTA have handled this. I want to know what type of consultation took place between Bus Éireann and the NTA, if your department were aware of it. If the NTA have known about this for a number of weeks, as a Bus Éireann representative told me today, then they should have communicated that to us also. And we shouldn't have had this situation where a tweet goes out and all of a sudden people think all of their plans for the coming weeks are gone. And I have to say as well, like the sceptic in me, Bus Éireann are now saying that the costs to this service were not being covered due to insufficient passenger numbers, and that's why it's been axed as a commercial route. But yet it's hard to believe the Bus Éireann have ran this route then all year at a loss, and when they're heading into peak commuter demand times into the busy Christmas period, that they're now deciding to axe it. It smacks to me of them trying to leverage the taxpayer to pay for a PSO for a route that, you know, I know the level of demand there is for it. An awful lot of people have contacted me. I've used it myself in the past. So this is a much sought after route. What analysis is there when Bus Éireann make claims like this that routes are not for profit, in the full knowledge that it will cause huge uproar?
Thank you, Deputy Heydon.
I'd like to thank Deputy Heydon for raising this matter today. Route 126N, which operates in the Dublin-Naas Newbridge route on Friday and Saturday nights, is a licensed commercial Bus Éireann service. Given that it is a commercial route, the service receives no state funding. Bus Éireann has advised that costs to run the service were not being covered due to insufficient passenger numbers, and it has been loss-making for a period of time. As a result, Bus Éireann made the commercial decision to cancel this service and the associated licence from the end of November. I understand that the NTA were informed of the decision as part of the cancellation process. In order to mitigate the impact of the cancellation of the night services on Route 126N, especially during the festive period, Bus Éireann, in conjunction with the NTA, has announced the introduction of late-night services on Route 126 on Friday and Saturday nights. I'm advised that these additional services will start on Friday the 30th of November until the end of December. These late-night services will depart the city centre at midnight 30 and 3:30, serving Bus Éireann and the Halfpenny Bridge, and will serve all locations previously served by Route 126N. I've been advised by the NTA that standard fares will apply on these services rather than the special fares previously charged on Route 126N. Free travel passes will also be accepted. In instances like this, where operators withdraw commercial services, the NTA determined whether there is a public service obligation to provide the services on a socially necessary basis. As such, the NTA intends to review the late services and determine whether a public service obligation applies in the provision of these late-night services on a continual basis from 2019. I hope that this update I've given the deputies today will alleviate any concerns regarding the continued provision of late-night services for the travelling public in the Kildare area, particularly as we enter into the festive period.
Thank you very much, Minister. Deputy Heydon, you've got 1 minute.
Minister, I'd like to thank you for your response, and I welcome the safeguarding of the Nightrider routes until the end of the year at the very least, and to allow that bit of time and space for consultation and analysis of the usage of this routes and the future demands that I expect to continue into the year. This is particularly important for South Kildare residents. I would hope there is going to be proper consultation with those who use the route to ascertain the levels of demand. We just don't take Bus Éireann's word for that, and also an examination of the time options. There possibly is the possibility opportunity to maybe change those times somewhat, or to work with them a little bit if numbers are down. But again, I have to say I am sceptical of Bus Éireann saying that the numbers aren't sufficient. We're heading into the busiest peak time, and for them to give a line to say that insufficient passenger numbers for some period of time, I question that. I really question that, because, to my mind, we're heading into a peak business time, and I think there's more at foot here behind this decision, and the very curt way in which it was communicated to people that did a huge disservice to passengers of Bus Éireann, and I want to put on the record my disappointment with that, but glad of the fact that the service will continue to the end of the year at the least.